One day, one of my friends from school and church was over, and his dad was over using my dad's car ramp. My dad would let other mates of his use the car ramp, as it was very handy to get down underneath the cars, as under the ramp was a pit, so you would be low enough underneath the car to be able to stand up and work on the underneath. It was a great invention my dad came up with. Anyway, my friend and I decided to go for a walk into the paddocks to go sightseeing. As we walked, we talked about school and the certain kids at school that didn't like me, which were most of the kids he was friends with. We come to some sort of agreement that not everyone gets along, but he reassured me that we were both cool, which made me feel better. It just sucked that we didn't all get along, all because I'm different to everyone else. In the back of my mind, I knew why, I just didn't want to say why. We were talking about all sorts of things really, so much so we had walked a lot further than I first thought, or than I first realised. We followed the creek up, and we got to a group of random trees. They were a different type of tree to all the other trees we had passed along the way, but it was a small patch of them grouped together. The trees almost looked out of place, and standing in amongst them felt like we were somewhere else completely. It almost felt eerie. All of a sudden, my friend informed me he could sense something, like we were being watched. I could now feel what he was feeling. Was it an animal? Or a person? We hadn't seen or heard anything yet. We decided to walk to the edge of the trees, where you could see a big paddock backing off from the forestry on the horizon. In the middle of the paddock was a random fig tree, standing there all on its own, but my friend could see something peering out from the side of the trunk of the tree. "Hey, there's something around the other side of that tree." As we looked closer, we could see it was a man standing by the tree, looking at us. What the hell? He's looking at us. We then realised the man was completely naked as well, as he ran off across the paddock in the other direction. We started to run towards the fig tree to see where the man was running off to, but when we got to the tree, the man was gone. It's like he disappeared. That's weird. He's gone. Maybe he's hiding somewhere. Maybe. But why is he naked for? I don't know. But at least no one but us could see him. Maybe he was just getting in touch with nature. That still doesn't explain who he is though. We walked back home and we told our dads what we just saw. My dad thought it was a bit bizarre, and he then wanted to see who this man was, because from what he knew, the neighbour up that way was just a woman living on her own, and where we were was just across from her house. It was weird because we hadn't seen the house in our travels. The next day, we decided to go for a walk up the paddock again, but this time I was with Dad, Mum and my brother, as my sister wasn't at home that day. I led them to the group of trees that stood out from all the others, and I pointed to the fig tree standing alone in the clearing. "That's where the man was," I confirmed, but he wasn't there. We didn't end up walking over to the tree. Instead, we turned back the way we came. As we got back towards the creek, we could hear rustling in the bushes nearby. "Did you hear that?" my mum said quietly. We turned around to see a face peering out of the bushes, looking straight at us. "Hello? Who's there?" my dad spoke with unease. The face disappeared, and there was no response. My dad then walked back towards the bushes to get a closer look, but then we could hear footsteps running off further into the bush. My dad didn't chase him, however. We all quickly walked home, and my dad told us not to venture into the paddocks alone anymore, at least not until he got to the bottom of who this guy was and what he was doing out there. He had made a few phone calls to all of the surrounding neighbours, but no one knew about the man. Eventually though, we seen police driving up our neighbour's long driveway. One of the neighbours must have called the police to check the acreage. We weren't sure if the man was found or not, but we didn't hear any more about it either.